What if everything you've ever been told about happiness, success, wealth, love was only part of the story? What if one quiet moment shattered the life you thought you were living? This is not just a story from 2,500 years ago. It's a story about us, about awakening, about the moment when the illusion breaks. Before he was the Buddha, he was a prince. And before he left the palace, he saw something that changed him forever. Hey there, and welcome to the Wisdom Mind podcast, where ancient Buddhist wisdom meets our modern-day journey of self-discovery. I'm your host, and today, in our very first episode, we're going to go way back to where it all began. A palace, a prince, and 4 encounters with truths none of us can avoid. So picture this. In this beautiful kingdom, tucked beneath the Himalayas, there was this young prince named Siddhartha Gautama. From the moment he was born, he lived in total comfort and luxury. His father, King Suddhodana, did everything he could to keep the prince away from anything that might cause him sorrow. Inside the palace, it was like a never-ending festival of joy. Siddhartha wore the softest silks, feasted on the richest foods, and strolled through gardens that seemed like paradise itself. There were musicians playing sweet melodies, dancers gliding under moonlight, seasons passing by like a dream. And yet, even in the middle of all this beauty, Siddhartha sometimes felt something tugging at him inside. Like there was more to life than this endless comfort. A question that kept echoing in his mind. Is this really all there is? Driven by this quiet unease, he asked his father to let him see the world outside the palace gates. The king agreed, though he wasn't exactly thrilled. He ordered the roads cleared of anything that might be unpleasant. But life doesn't always follow orders. On his very first trip outside, he saw something that shook him to his core. An old man. His back was bent, his face lined with deep wrinkles. He moved slowly and with effort. Siddhartha asked his charioteer, "What's happened to him?" "He is old, my lord. All of us grow old." For the first time, Siddhartha understood that youth doesn't last forever. That he and everyone he loved would eventually grow old too. On the second trip, he saw a man who was terribly sick, his body shaking with fever, every breath a struggle. Inside the palace, Siddhartha had never imagined such misery. "Does this happen to everyone?" he asked, shocked. "Yes, my prince. No one escapes illness," said the charioteer. The third trip was even more unsettling. He saw a funeral procession moving down the road, a body wrapped in cloth, still and lifeless, carried by grieving family members. "Is he sleeping?" he asked softly. "He is dead, my lord. Death comes to us all." Each of these sights, aging, sickness, death, they shattered the safe middle world he had known. No silk or music or fine meal could keep them away. Finally, on the fourth trip, he saw something completely different. A wandering ascetic. A man who had left behind all possessions and walked with a calm, quiet dignity. He had nothing, yet he seemed somehow free. Who is he? Siddhartha wondered. One who seeks truth. One who has left behind illusion to find peace. At that moment, something clicked inside Siddhartha. It was like a spark of understanding. He saw a new path, not through wealth or status, but through deeper knowledge and clarity. You know, these 4 sights aren't just ancient symbols, they're powerful reminders of what the Buddha would later teach, that life contains suffering, or dukkha. It's not just the big, dramatic pain, it's also the everyday stress, the subtle dissatisfaction we usually try to ignore. The king, in trying to shield his son from these truths, thought he was preserving Siddhartha's happiness. But real happiness doesn't come from pretending suffering doesn't exist. It comes from seeing it clearly and finding a wise way to respond. When we start to really look at our aging parents, at illness in our communities, at loss and heartbreak, we wake up. Like Siddhartha, we're forced to ask ourselves, how do we live fully knowing everything changes? What's amazing is that Siddhartha's compassion didn't grow in spite of seeing suffering, it actually grew because of it. Seeing these truths gave him the resolve to find a way to live with more understanding, and that's really the first step in any journey toward wisdom. That night, after witnessing these foresights, Siddhartha couldn't sleep. The palace, once so grand and comforting, felt empty. His soft bed felt like a burden instead of a gift. He couldn't stop thinking about what he'd seen. In those quiet hours before dawn, he realized he couldn't keep living the same way. He'd been blind before, but now he was awake. So he made a choice. It wasn't about rejecting his family or his life, it was about expanding his love to include everyone who grows old, who suffers, who dies. Before the sun rose, he kissed his sleeping wife and child, and he left the palace behind. He cut his hair, gave up his fine clothes, and took on the simple robe of a seeker. This wasn't an escape, it was a promise to find a way of living that could bring peace to everyone. This story isn't just ancient history. We all see our own versions of the foresights every day. A loved one gets sick, a job starts to feel meaningless, or someone we care about passes away. These moments, though painful, they're also invitations to wake up, to care more deeply, to live with purpose. Siddhartha didn't respond with despair. He responded with a vow to keep going, to find a path of understanding. And that's something we can all take to heart. The path starts when we open our eyes and walk forward with compassion. So that's it for episode 1 of the Wisdom Mind podcast, The Young Prince and the Foresights. If this story spoke to you, stick around. Next time we'll follow Siddhartha even deeper into the forest and into the mind. Until then, may you see clearly, live with compassion, and walk with wisdom.